Welcome back to the Second and Short podcast where the entire playbook is open. I'm Josiah.
I'm Christian.
I'm Hayden.
I'm Cooper.
For those of you who like to listen to audio only, the link will be in the bio for. Link will be in the description. Link will be in the description for the Spotify link.
This is episode 20, I think, and still don't have it down.
It's just, I guess I need some water, get the palate cleanse.
There's a beverage right there for you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. What kind of beverage? Anyway, so today we're going to do something a little bit different. So we are going to talk a little bit about the games last week, the AFC NFC Championship game, give a little lowdown on kind of what our thoughts are, and then also the Super Bowl obviously being here. We're going to go deep into depth on the Pro Bowl and really, no, I'm just kidding. We're not going to talk about that garbage. We're also going to go a little bit into our awards and kind of the things that we predicted and kind of see how we did based on our all-pro predictions and things like that. Luke will probably have an audible and we'll do some trivia today. So that'll be the agenda for us. So why don't we start with the AFC NFC Championship game, give a little lowdown on what your thoughts are. Why don't you start?
Obviously I hate the Chiefs, but I mean, the Ravens D coordinator, is it McDonald or is it McDonald. He did a great job against the Chiefs. He shut them out in the second half too. Just Lamar couldn't do anything, and then the Ravens just kept screwing themselves up, fumbling and throwing turnovers. That was a dumb pick.
Taunting.
Yeah, taunting. And then the Lions game, heartbreaking. I was really happy. I think I would have been less mad if the game was closer instead of them being up 21-7 or 24-7 at half. That was heartbreaking. They had it all. I agreed with Campbell going with it on the first fourth down, but the second one I did not agree with. But yeah, it just sucks because we kicked those two field goals, they would have won.
The honorary Lions fan over here, starting the season off with his old. For those of you who never saw it, he did a whole get up with his Lions attire after they beat the Chiefs in Week 1. So there could have been a rematch of that in the Super Bowl. There was a real chance that could have been a rematch.
I thought it was going to be the perfect NFL script, replaying the first game of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the Lions would have taken it too.
Yeah.
I think the Lions are better than the 49ers.
Yep.
But they just didn't pull it out. But
I mean, a lot of stuff was made about Christian's prediction being right week 1 about him being scared of the Chiefs and the defense being better than the offense. What did I say?
About that.
What did I say?
Still right
the
about
Chiefs
that.
are going to be the
Offense
Chiefs.
is garbage.
The offense is going to the Super Bowl.
I don't care.
I don't think you can have
I'm worried about the Chiefs. I'm worried about the Chiefs.
I'm worried about them, so.
They're in the Super Bowl.
They don't have Mahomes. I don't care. Travis Kelce's leaving.
We tend to just look at one part of your prediction that would kind of hit early on. We don't look at the other part of it.
I agree with your prediction, but their offense is not garbage.
I think their offense is garbage still.
How many rush yards did Pacheco have this year?
He was, I think,
over 1,000.
I think he got 1,000.
Can an Andy Reid offense that has Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Isaiah Pacheco really be garbage when they have 3 Pro Bowl
You're
linemen?
Pacheco. Don't even try defending him now. You hated on him at the beginning of the year.
You have him in your fantasy, right?
I did, yeah.
We're back to Christian.
He can't even talk because he did the same thing. I will go back to that clip because I remember after you said that you talked about someone on your fantasy team, and I was like, oh, fantasy.
I'm just saying you tend to only go back to the predictions that were right of yours. You don't look at it holistically.
Looks like Isaiah Pacheco this year had 935, so he did not break 1,000.
So a 935 rush yard is going to be a garbage offense.
7 touchdowns on 205 carries.
Only 7 touchdowns? I had more.
He was 18th in the NFL in rushing yards and 22nd in carries. So, interesting. So.
What did you think of Dan Campbell's presser where he basically admitted that it's going to be harder to get back? Because I've seen kind of mixed reviews. On one hand, yeah, we love the honesty. They are going to need to hold themselves accountable because it's going to be harder. There's going to be a target on their back. They're the team now. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, some people didn't like that he just came out and addressed it. It kind of had a loser mentality to it. Oh, crap, guys. We had our chance and we blew it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. Where were you guys?
I didn't like it at all because what was his quote? I think his quote was, "This was our only shot," or something like this.
I think
something like that.
We had our shot.
We had our shot, or we had our chance. I did not like that at all, just because I don't think that was their only shot, and I think next year they have another very good opportunity because they still have Dan Campbell.
Yeah. I think I'm still high on the Lions next year. I think they have another good season, but like there's so many factors that you have to take into account with that. Is that like it's so hard to repeat. I mean, look at the Eagles this year. Everybody was hyping them up. I think at the time when Dan Campbell said that, I'm not going to get in the mind of Dan Campbell, but like Ben Johnson was still getting looked at as a head coach. Like there was a chance he was going to be gone. Like that was huge. Like he's now coming back there, which I think bodes
they're coming
well
back
for them
because
to.
And Aaron Glenn's
Yeah,
probably
like,
going to be back.
there's-
as
They're
well.
coming back because they're ready. They're coming for revenge.
There's unfinished business with the Lions, but like again, it's so hard to repeat as a division winner. Like you look at the NFC East, it's like there hasn't been a repeat division winner in like 20 years or something like that, and it happened again this year where like the Eagles didn't win it, the Cowboys did. So like it's just there's so many factors that have to take place for you to return to where you were. It's like I think they have another good season next year. I don't know if they make it back to the NFC Championship game.
No,
I think they might.
that's obviously like so we still have free agency, still the draft. We don't know what's going to happen with injuries. When I heard about it, because I didn't actually listen to the press conference initially, I had just heard the quote and I kind of grimaced. I was like, ooh, that didn't sound too good. That didn't really pass the eyeball test. Once I actually got context, listened to the question, listened to how he phrased it, I was like, all right, I kind of like it now. But if you just look at the quote without actually hearing him say it, it's concerning.
Yeah.
It does not give off Dan Campbell biting kneecaps energy at all.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I don't know. I said this before. I think even last week on the podcast, just like it's so hard to it's so hard to pick against Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people root against him, but like it's so hard to pick against him because, I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit last week too. Is like this was statistically the worst year of his career.
And they're in the Super Bowl.
And they're in the Super Bowl. They're in the Super Bowl and the worst statistical year of his career. He had the lowest passer rating he's had by far in any of the years. He had like a 75 passer rating this year.
That also has to do a lot with the receivers. the
Exactly.
drops.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
scary
like-
thing.
yeah,
If they can make it to the Super Bowl, this kind of offense, the defense is intact now.
Yeah.
The defense is legit.
Yeah.
As Christian said, the part of his prediction, I was right. But now all of a sudden you can go out and get a talented receiver.
Yeah.
Like, then watch out. Like,
whether it's in the
exactly.
draft or free
yeah,
agency, doesn't
exactly.
matter.
Like the offense is just going to get better. If the Chiefs can win, Mahomes is at 3. They've already come out and said that they're very hyper aware of his legacy and his pursuit of chasing Tom and his 7 rings. He's going to have 3 at a young age with honestly the peak still probably coming. Even with the stats down, he has gotten better every single year.
Yeah,
the stats haven't. The stats his first year starting were just ridiculous.
50
but
and 5,000 or
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
he's become a better quarterback though, and all of a sudden the weapons are going to start to form around him again.
Yeah. Like it's-
Statistically, this was his worst year, but do you think this has been his best year?
yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
100%. I agree. Yeah. And that was the point that I was getting to is that like the fact that, I mean, everybody's going to continue to doubt because that's exactly what they do with sustained greatness. They start to doubt or start to make excuses for what it is.
And
It's
start
like-
to hate.
because we don't see it. Like the fact that we saw Tom Brady's extended greatness right into Patrick Mahomes is what we assume is going to be extended greatness for a long period of time is mind-boggling. The fact that we saw that in one sport being passed from one torch to another like that is just, it's insane. But looking at the other side of the ball with the Ravens, it's like, I mean, they fell apart. Like their game plan was terrible offensively, specifically. Their defense played pretty well against Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league. But like, I mean, the Bills ran for like almost 200 yards against the Chiefs in the previous week. They didn't have Willie Gay, one of the best young middle linebackers in the entire league, who was going to spy Lamar Jackson. Like, the Ravens look bad. They look terrible on offense, to be honest with you. Like, I would say the only bright spot was Zay Flowers, and like he had that huge fumble. Like, they just they looked poor, very poor.
They looked very human, which hadn't been the case. Shout out Hunter and Mr. We're gonna go to the Super Bowl this year, but I don't know. And that's the thing, though. This was supposed to be the year, and it's not like they can really make any changes. The defense, you just want to sustain that as much as possible because the defense was lights out all year. Obviously, Chiefs held to 17 points. But then on the offensive side, Zay Flowers is going to get better. As you know, I think he has Antonio Brown level potential. But Mark Andrews being healthy, maybe getting a more premier running back in there, whether that's Keaton Mitchell developing or someone else. But
Derrick Henry. they made a push for him at the trade deadline.
But
It was
this is their
close.
team. This is
Yeah.
their team. Like, if this doesn't get it done, then you're out of options
Yeah.
because OBJ probably not coming back next year. You're probably going to still try and keep that same run pass balance. And then, and honestly, is that a bad thing? Like, I don't know what the ceiling of this Ravens team was because the Chiefs controlled them. Like, the Chiefs were the better team on Sunday without a doubt. With that said, Baltimore had 2 red zone turnovers, goal line turnovers, and they only lost by 7. So it's hard to tell. Like, if you would have asked me just from watching the game and not knowing what the score was, I would have said, yeah, Kansas City dominated. But if you really get down to the nitty gritty, Baltimore had a couple of missed opportunities to go to the Super Bowl.
I don't think Lamar's going to get any better than he is right now. I think this is his prime, and I don't think he's getting better.
He shouldn't need to get better.
I agree, but
He was the MVP this year. There's same thing with Josh Allen. There becomes a line where even if you're not going to get better, which I still think him and Josh Allen still might be on the rise, especially as passers, not just as runners. The team around them needs to do it, whether that's coaching, whether that's defense, whether that's receivers. I would say it's more offensive weaponry, receivers and stuff for both Lamar and Josh Allen, but neither one of them are the problems on their team. They each have faults, but their talents make up for their faults. It's up to the rest of the team, the general manager, the head coach, to make everybody else rise up at a certain point. Because there's only a certain amount of elite quarterbacks out there.
I would only say
There's one Mahomes.
All season needs are another corner because they had Arthur Millette as their starting corner. If you replace him with an actual good corner, defense is better. I think the O-line.
I'll push back. Mollett played great.
I thought he
Yeah,
played
but
well
I think
too.
they could
All this
definitely.
year.
I think they could arguably get a way better guy.
Mollett, I would argue,
was
is
a
one of the
slot
best.
corner, though.
Yeah, he's one of the
They
best
still,
run
they still
stoppers.
put people in there to replace Marcus Peters, and then I don't even know who they're.
But Marcus Peters is a boundary
Rocky
corner.
Austin,
They're two
yeah.
different positions.
I'm just saying, if they get a better corner, upgrade that O line because I think Stanley's not good anymore. They're paying him bank, and he got beat
Just the
a lot.
injuries, yeah.
Morgan Moses is old.
Yeah, Moses is getting old.
Linderbaum's
all
the
they have
only
is
young
Linderbaum,
guy, yeah.
Bomb's solid though.
And
Tyler's up there in age, and he just got his first Pro Bowl. Like they're all old except for Linderbaum.
He's a potential free agent though. Zeitler's a
Zeitler's on free- yeah.
So
And
he's
then-
probably not going to get
And
re-signed.
then obviously they're gonna need a receiver because OBJ's leaving.
But that's what I mean. But all those are manageable. Like Mollett, he's an older defensive back, but also he's a nickel back. And for what he is, he's very good at what he does. It's a run stopper.
Like a
It's
Mike Hilton type of
Exactly.
guy.
He's a Mike Hilton kind of nickel back where he's not insane in coverage, but he's also not a liability. He is a great blitzer. He knows how to stop the run. And that's what you're looking for from your nickel.
Who was it that lit Mala up in the game? The illegal blindside block. Who was that?
Shoot, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, was it,
It was
Noah Gray.
no, it was a receiver.
I thought
Justin
it was a
Watson?
receiver. It might have
No,
been
it
Justin.
wasn't Watson.
No?
It was one of their bigger guys because I was pissed
Justin
off
Watson's
about
a pretty
it.
big guy. I mean, he's
No,
think
I'm
as
talking
far
about
as their
like big name
receivers
guy.
go.
Oh. See,
It wasn't MVS. Who was MVS? They have Rasheed. It wasn't Rasheed Rice. I know it wasn't Rice.
I don't remember.
But we're running out of wide
Yeah, for
receivers
real.
here. Pretty
I
quick.
think it might
Maybe
have
it
been
was
Justin
Rice.
Watson, but I don't know.
I want to say it was
Might have been
Rasheed Rice.
It might have been Rice actually.
I think it was
It might have
Rasheed
been.
Rice.
Any thoughts on the NFC? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but the NFC Championship game.
Go Niners.
Go Niner, bang bang Niner gang.
Period.
I one big point that I did want to make about the NFC Championship game and specifically about Kyle Shanahan is in his career, his postseason career, he's been a very poor second half coach. That was probably the best second half his team's ever played in his coaching career.
Oh, I knew the game wasn't over 24/7 at
Like,
halftime.
I think that speaks to the experience.
I was still so nervous
Yeah.
with the game. I was like, they have it, but they're gonna.
They've
choke
fallen apart in the second half of most of their postseason losses are because they've been awful in the second
No,
half.
and Kyle's been on the wrong side of a lot of games like that. Because of that, he has the experience. He knows how to fix it. Going back to his offensive coordinator days in the Super Bowl, 28-3, Tom Brady's ultimate comeback, which stapled him as the GOAT of the sport. Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for Matt Ryan and the Falcons. People forget that. He's been on the wrong side of so many of those games where I feel like he knows how to flip the switch. Dan Campbell and the Lions haven't been on the wrong side of a lot of those games where I feel like we make a lot out of playoff experience and sometimes too much. But in this case, it fit the bill completely.
And also with the Lions too, I just disagree with a lot. Like sometimes they put themselves in those situations. Like they had a lot in 3rd and 10s when they should have ran it on 1st or 2nd. They just kept throwing it, and they got lucky and they got it. But I think that they were just passing it too much on them, which you can't. They have a great secondary. I would rather run against that D line with the running backs you have in the line instead of passing it.
Yeah.
I also thought this was a great game for Purdy, just to prove everybody that, because I think he passed Dak.
His second half
I
was
think he
good.
passed
Yeah.
him in that conversation of who's the better quarterback. Yeah, game manager, whatever. But Dak has people around him.
Alex Smith is the president. He said no.
All right.
Did
Well,
you see that Alex Smith
I
did?
did.
No, he's not allowed in.
I hate how we just put ceilings on all players, but especially like quarterbacks, because we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, look at Kurt Warner. Like, there was no high end potential there, and then all of a sudden he comes out and has an MVP. Like, who are we to put quarterbacks in categories and say, "Ooh, I don't know, like that's a for sure bust, that's a for sure elite quarterback," and we're like, "Oh, after 2 or 3 years, we're like, we know, we got the gist." Look at Geno. I know you have your doubts, but there's no doubting that Geno is a top 32 quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, yeah, he's just good enough to be a starter.
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, I'm not like some Geno lover, but if you would have said the same thing after he flamed out in New York and went to the Giants or went to the Chargers, we would have been laughed.
Yeah.
But guess what? We don't know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that's happening more. Baker Mayfield. He was on like 4 teams in the past 2 years. All of a sudden, he's top 20 quarterback with high ceiling. Like people, I'm just so sick
I
of
always thought
all
Purdy
these
was
players
that guy.
putting people into these categories. We don't know. It's super situation based.
And I think
Rudolph,
it's a
too.
narrative. I think it's a narrative
Another
thing
good
too,
one.
because like I've said this before, it's like the NFL is terrible at evaluating quarterbacks coming out of college. It's like
No one knows anything.
the first overall pick. How many times do they work out? They don't. Like first round quarterbacks like work out about as much as other quarterbacks in other rounds. It's like I think the fact that Brock Purdy was selected as the very last pick in the draft is part of the reason that people want to call him a game manager, because it explains away the fact that like the NFL is terrible at judging quarterback talent. Like,
Steelers drafted 2 quarterbacks ahead of Brock Purdy, one of whom got, I think, 6 preseason snaps before he was cut.
Aludikin?
Chris Oladukin.
Oladukin, yeah. Like
And
South
Brady
Dakota
was in the
State.
6th round, wasn't he?
Yeah, pick 199.
Exactly.
Like it's just, I mean, I think it just helps the narrative that like first round quarterback is the way to go, and like this, and like how many quarterbacks are starting in the NFL that weren't selected in the first round? I mean, the guys that I can name off the top of my head is Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, obviously Brock Purdy,
Kirk Cousins.
Like these guys aren't like. You don't have to select a quarterback in the first round, and I wish Eli was
Drew
here
Lock
because
was
he
on
would
that
be
list.
like,
Yeah.
like Eli. I know is a huge first round quarterback hater, but like you can get a guy outside of the first round. But like,
Taylor was good for a few years.
Yeah.
Argue he still would have been if he didn't.
Your guys' favorite quarterback, Derek Carr,
what was it, fourth, third,
second.
second round pick, second. Yeah.
I would say the odds of him being an elite quarterback if he's taken in the first round is much higher than if he's taken in the 3rd or 4th. I mean, just look at Mahomes, Allen, Lamar.
But also,
Lamar was basically a second round pick, if we're being honest.
He was 32nd, but
He was, the 32nd overall pick. Like
but also look
this
at
year, that would have been the first pick of the second round. So,
well, good thing it wasn't this year.
yeah.
look at the chance though to build your team with other high picks though, and then bring a guy in. The Niners obviously like. Look at how they built. They were fine with Jimmy G for a long time until they weren't obviously trade up for Trey Lance, but the team around them was already set. They got lucky and found Brock Purdy the next year. But imagine if that Trey Lance pick even was used on a Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons could be available with Nick Bosa right now. But like we think of the Niners right now as kind of like this godlike team. They could have Micah freaking Parsons.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of like the ridiculous craziness of drafting a quarterback in the first round. I'm not like Eli. I'm convinced Eli wouldn't take a quarterback in the top 100 picks. Yeah. So, but he also has a valid point. Like if you can build up a great team, you don't necessarily need to do something like
And
that.
if you have a great scheme.
Yeah.
Because, like, let's be honest, like, we don't know what Purdy would look like outside of Shanahan's scheme. Shanahan's scheme is, as long as you understand, like, how things work and, like, understand the play calls, which from what I hear, are very difficult to get, like, you can be an above average quarterback and not an elite quarterback and see success in there.
Nick
We saw
Mullins and
that with-
CJ Beathard.
Yeah, CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins, even Jimmy G. Like, I would say he's obviously in a tier above those other 2 guys that you named, but, like, I mean, I don't know. He had 4 starts with the Patriots before he got signed to the Niners.
I think it might have even only been 3.
Yeah,
And he got hurt in the third one because Jacoby Brissett came in.
yeah. It's like you look at the NFC Championship game that Jimmy Garoppolo won. How many times did he throw the ball? Not how many completions. How many times did he throw the ball?
So 13.
It was 8.
He threw it 8.
8 times is how many times he threw the ball, and they won the NFC Championship.
Well, was it like 5 of 8? I forget what it was.
It was something like that. He threw the ball 8 times, is what it was, and it was against the Packers. It's like
Raheem Mostert for like 250.
with a good scheme like that, like there's very like you have to be a game manager. Like that's like even if you are an elite quarterback, you kind of have to manage the game in order to win it with the Shanahan system. So. Yeah, good. That was a good conversation. Thoughts on the Super Bowl?
How about those?
Are we doing predictions right now?
Let's do predictions now. We'll talk. If you have thoughts on it, share. If you just have a prediction, throw a prediction. So
Niners.
Niners what?
I think Niners are going to win. Honestly, going back to like the Buccaneers versus Chiefs Super Bowl, I thought that game was going to be very close, and then it wasn't. Like, I can honestly see 49ers blowing them out, but also both great defenses against each other. I could see it being a close game, but I think Niners are going to come with vengeance, especially since it's against the Chiefs again.
Give us a bold prediction.
24. I'm going to go low score. I'm going to go 24-17.
Okay. All right.
I'm going Niners, but I think it's mostly to do just with the fact that I want the Niners to win. I love Kyle Shanahan and his X's and O's. I don't... on the off chance that it is a blowout, I think it would be the other way around. I think it would be Kansas City blowing them out, much like Tampa did to them a couple years ago. I could see kind of a changing of the guard.
Don't you think the Niners have a better defense? I think the Niners defense is way better than
I think
the
it's
Chiefs.
Patrick frickin' Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like I know I've become a broken record saying it on TikTok and saying it on here. The Chiefs are gonna be the Chiefs, dude. Like, get used to it. He's like this for at least another
Oh,
decade.
I know he's great. I never argue I honestly argue right now he's the greatest quarterback already over Brady. And that hates you.
All right, but that's like a different conversation.
I think that he's one of the best quarterbacks. I think he's always going to be hard to stop no matter what.
But that's kind of what, going back to your, like, I'm worried about the Chiefs. Like, I'm never going to be worried about them. The Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs. If they have Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's kind of like that. So I'm going with the Niners, but that's really just revealing my own bias. Bold prediction, a defensive MVP.
Ooh. Who?
Whew.
From McDuffie.
Well, I just said I want the Niners.
No,
to win,
that's
so.
true. I'm sorry.
Hargrave.
Talanoa Hufanga, Troy Polamalu disciple.
Is he
hurt.
back?
He tore his
Is he
ACL.
back?
He's on IR.
Not him. Not him. Not
His
him.
ACL like a few weeks
Yeah.
before the regular season ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, could go Javon Hargrave, former Steeler, but
Warner.
the
Fred Warner's
Gravedigger.
gonna- yeah, Fred Warner's
a good pick.
one.
That's
Or Dre Greenlaw if he goes nuts.
Give me Greenlaw. Give me Greenlaw.
that's good.
Is he
pick.
back though? He got hurt during that.
You sure he's not going to get ejected?
He'll be back.
He
He'll
might
be
get
back.
ejected.
Yeah, but
I
if
would love
you-
to see him get it. I would like to see that.
That'd
if
be
he
the
gets
third
his
game
hands
this
on the
year
ball,
that he
Would
got
it?
if he gets his
Because
hands on the ball,
I know
he's
he got
going all the
Did
way.
he get ejected?
He's a
with
dirty
Big Dom.
He's dirty a little.
He
bit.
is.
No, I don't think he did.
He's kind of like Matt Milano.
He's borderline dirty. He is.
I
wouldn't
he's
say
very
Matt
I love
Milano's
Matt
dirty.
Milano.
He makes me think Matt Milano is dirty.
You think so?
There's a little bit of a history there.
I think they're
I
both like the same player.
Italian
Greenlaw.
stallion.
Yeah.
Love him.
All right, Cooper.
Well, I already did it, so it's not as cool, but I'll do it again. So, how about those Chiefs?
Nice.
Chiefs
Isn't it
by
Chiefs?
17.
17 point game.
17
Yeah,
points.
okay.
Is that your bold prediction?
It's bold, yes.
Bold? Okay.
Bold. And Super Bowl MVP with 3 touchdowns, Travis Kelce.
Dude, you stole my bold prediction.
That's when it
So-
to Taylor Swift when she comes down.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here because I do have a storyline that goes with it. So I know you all know what this is, and anybody who's watched us before knows what my prediction is. So Chiefs win. It's a close game, probably a comeback because that's how the Chiefs and the Chiefs and the Niners last Super Bowl went. I'm gonna go Chiefs by 10. And I'm going to say that Travis Kelce gets the Super Bowl MVP, and when he's giving his like MVP speech at the end, he retires. So, Jason and Travis both retire this season. Both first ballot Hall of Famers.
You think he retires
Yes.
like
I don't
right
think
after the game? Like he doesn't give it like a few days?
Yes.
Dude, that's bold. Nobody does that.
He's standing up there with
Because
Taylor
they
Swift
always
on his
try
arm.
and bait people to do that. They tried to do it with Peyton, like, and it just it's such a meme moment where like no player is like that selfish.
It's a storyline, dude. Mr. Pfizer's gonna retire right after the Super Bowl MVP.
Didn't Peyton Manning say something about like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna have a few drinks, and I'm gonna go to Disney World, and then I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I'll have a few Budweiser.
He said that he was talking to like Tony Dungy. He was like, I'm not going to make that kind of irrational decision right now.
I'm told you it was a bold prediction.
I do like your bold prediction because I just saw on Instagram he went up to Patrick Mahomes after this championship game. It could be taken either way, but he said, "Man, I can do this for another 11 years." Which
Kelsey said that?
Kelsey said it, yeah.
I don't know if I buy it.
Well, I don't think he's gonna do it 11 more years.
And
but-
if he does retire, like the Jason Kelsey, everyone kind of saw it coming. But if Travis retires, Josie, you were on that first before any national media or anything.
I'm telling you, dude, it's gonna happen.
Luke, who's your pick?
I'm holding on.
I'm going 49ers.
Thank God I'm not the only
Big
one.
Niner
I think
game.
it'll be a close game. I'd really like to see Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, but you think Chiefs are winning technically, so you just
Christian McCaffrey MVP.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said if I wanted the Niners to win.
Yeah.
CMC.
You
did.
don't want the Niners to win?
I don't know.
It's tough because
Why?
I don't want to see another team get 6 Super Bowls before the Steelers get
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, but then
But-
part of me just feels like the Niners deserve it too.
Yeah, but I'd rather
Chiefs don't deserve it too after what they've been
No,
through
they
this
got
season.
this, but they got this. Okay, they had a good season for what they had, but also I just think the Niners deserve it more because they were there. They should have got it, but they choked, and then they have a way better team.
The Chiefs win there at 5, right? They have
Won what?
Super
Yeah.
Bowls. They're at 4 currently, right?
Yeah.
2 with Mahomes. Is it only 3? 2 with
It's
Mahomes
3
and then
total
1
then.
early.
The one with like
Yeah,
Super
I
Bowl
think it's
3
they
or
only have
something
3
like
right
that.
now, so this would be number 4.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I used to have the same mindset of you, Luke, where like I was like, oh, like I don't want another team to have 6. But then I was like, you know what? It's not other teams' fault that my team can't adapt to the new age and win another Lombardi. Like, I'll be honest, I cheered for New England over LA for their 6th Super Bowl, and I love Sean McVay, but just something inside of me wanted Tom Brady to get it. So
I think that was like I think the Patriots were the only team that didn't want to get it, but after that, after they got it, I was just like, who cares if the Niners get it or something? I don't care.
I think that's a good as segue as any to transition to talk about the Steelers and kind of them being stuck in their old ways, in my opinion. But
just gonna sit back and let all of you guys vent for this.
why don't we talk about the hiring of the week? Happened yesterday, today happened today.
Yeah.
Arthur
Jim
Smith-
Harbaugh was hired this week, and you just said Arthur Smith was the hire of
for
the
us,
week.
for us, that's the hire of the week. That's the hire of the week.
anyway.
Whatever you say.
Last 5
The
years.
Steelers hired Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. Former Falcons head coach just got fired. Before that, he was the OC for the Tennessee Titans.
I'm torn with it. I like it and I also don't. I think what makes me not like it is what happened with Bijan, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London this year. With all that talent they had, they didn't use. Either one of them only had one good game. But I like it. It's kind of a big name. He did good with Derrick Henry. I think he has the running backs to do it, and then he has George Pickens. So if it's like that with AJ Brown, like that Tannehill and Derrick Henry were like one of them had a good game where they just used Pickens, and then they have the 2 backs, and then if Pickens does a decent job, then I'm happy. I don't care.
I really like it. But the Steelers obviously have struggled very, very much offensively the past couple years. But we had, 2 400-yard games in the last 40-some games?
I think
was
it's
it 2?
even more. Like,
Was it
It's
1?
like 50.
One was
Every
like
single year
394.
that Matt Canada was
Okay.
there wasn't a single one
And
until this year.
I saw a
He left.
stat that was Arthur Smith had 15 400-yard games in 2 years with the Titans, with Ryan Tannehill.
And you left out an important thing in that. Who else he had?
And Derrick Henry.
There we go.
But,
Generational running back Derrick Henry.
correct. But we also have a generational running back duo in Pittsburgh.
Okay. All right.
Come on. This year, they're going to be both over 1,300 yards.
Total or rushing?
Scrimmage.
Okay, I was about to say you're
Scrimmage.
nuts with that. I
They're-
honestly
They're going to be approaching 1,500. That's another bold take.
that's a bold take, but I could honestly like if they run the heck out of both of them, that would be cool. I think they could be pretty close to both getting 1,000 yards. They're close to it this year.
Because what's Arthur Smith known for? His play action. Yes, the play action does set up the pass, but you also have to run it very well for the play action.
Which means get us.
You have to run it successfully at all for the play action.
Correct.
And that was why the Canada system didn't work, because Najee Harris was getting touched 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage before he even like got the ball, basically.
And everyone's
So the
like,
play
"He
action didn't work
sucks."
because you don't scheme your receivers
And-
open either.
Our O line's gonna be better. There's no way it declines unless there's an injury or something crazy happens. Broderick's gonna get better. He was a
Broderick
rookie
will get
last
better.
year,
I agree.
and I feel like he played an amazing year.
He did good when he came. He should have started day one.
Yeah, I think we're gonna draft a center, first, second round, maybe early.
Oregon guy.
I don't.
I like him.
I don't know
like
who,
the Oregon
but
center.
we're gonna draft a
I
center
thought we were going
or a
first round
tackle.
for-
I don't see us keeping Dan Moore around this season.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I think honestly, other than that's kind of bold to say. I think Broderick might be like the only O lineman that like might stay.
No,
I mean, James
James
Daniels.
No.
James Daniels, I don't know. He's decent, but I don't know. I could see his moving.
Daniels-
I feel like
Siamalu's gonna be there. They're gonna have a new
forgot
starting
about
center and probably a new starting tackle.
I forgot about Siamalu.
Siamalu, however you say it or whatever. But how many sacks did he give up this season?
He gave
Very
like
few.
only like two.
Yeah.
three.
Same
I think it was
And James Daniels the same. It was mainly our tackles. When Chooks was in there, when Broderick didn't start, and Dan Moore.
I think Broderick only left up a couple, but
Broderick didn't give. He gave more, but he didn't give anything crazy.
Josie, go ahead and get your Arthur Smith slander out of here.
So there are two sides to how I feel about this. The side that I feel good about is, we've talked about this on the podcast earlier this year, is like sometimes you need to let good coordinators just be good coordinators.
That's what I was-
Some coordinators don't necessarily work out as head coaches. That's the part that I feel good about. Arthur Smith saw some success as an offensive coordinator. Whether it's, say whatever you want about it, he had a team in the AFC Championship game.
Up 14 against the Chiefs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, say what you want about it, and I'm gonna say what I want about it in a second when I talk about the negatives.
He even had the greatest team, too.
Like take out everything, take it down to its nubs. He had a team in the AFC Championship game with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. No, was it Ryan Tannehill or was it Marcus Mariota? Yeah, Ryan Tannehill at quarterback.
they're like
Because that's what kind of piloted it. Him taking over for Mariota.
And he wasn't there when they like
Yeah.
upgraded the offense that much. He just kept the offense the same. Imagine they just added more pieces to it.
It was
You don't know
A.J.
how good
Brown
he
and
could have
Derrick
been. Yeah, it was just
Do
like
you
that.
think
Guys.
that Tennessee offense is better than our potential offense? As the Steelers?
Here's the other side of it. The other side of it is the Steelers don't have an AJ Brown, but they have a better receiving core than the Tennessee Titans had. As a whole, I don't believe that. I would say George Pickens is the Steelers' best receiver when he's not being himself. That sounded bad.
Yeah.
When he, you know what I'm saying. When he's not being diva. Cut that out.
Says the light from the couch.
He's their best receiver. He's not as good as AJ Brown. AJ Brown is an offensive player of the year candidate at the start of this year. He was a stud when he was with the Tennessee Titans. He never got his targets with the Tennessee Titans. You could say the same thing about
Yeah,
George
you
Pickens.
could argue George Pickens. George Pickens is an athletic
I think
freak.
I think that AJ Brown is a better overall receiver than George Pickens is.
Okay.
That's my point.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I was just a little disagreeing. Like George Pickens can't be nuts a little bit because AJ Brown,
No,
like
yeah.
he was.
Yeah.
I liked
George
AJ
Pickens
Brown.
is
Like
good.
he was a good receiver in Tennessee, but he wasn't top 10 yet. He was decent,
Yeah.
but he wasn't like that. And George Pickens has full potential.
Yeah,
yet.
no, for sure. And I think that having a defensive coach still, because Vrabel was a defensive guy, right? And so he still has a defensive head coach where he's coming in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. So I do think that Arthur Smith had some autonomy with the Tennessee Titans offense. And so I think that bodes well for what the Steelers need, because Tomlin is a defensive guy, you know, and so he needs a guy who can actually understand his offensive system, unlike the guy that they had previously. I don't necessarily like the similarities in the schemes that Matt Canada has with Arthur Smith. I think
How do you
that,
think they're similar?
I
If
think
you don't
they're
mind me
similar in the sense that like they constantly want to run the ball.
Okay, but that's
But we also have the
almost
backs for
every
that.
offense out there.
But here's the thing: the way that it was successful in Tennessee was because they had a generational, probably best overall running back, just the guy who runs the football that we've seen in the last 10 years, 15 years. I mean, Derrick Henry was a generational running back in every sense of the
Derrick
word.
Henry, obviously, like Najee's not as close to Derrick Henry, but Najee Harris is basically Derrick Henry, but a little like
Najee
not-
Harris
not-
is never going to take it 99 yards to the house against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm just saying Najee Harris is supposed to be like Derrick Henry, just not as good.
You
as
ready?
Derrick Henry.
He doesn't have top end speed. Go ahead.
So this is Arthur Smith's resume.
Yeah.
He finally really broke into the NFL 2011 with the Titans. Started on the defensive side of the ball, shifted the next year over to the offensive side of the ball, and just worked his way all the way up until 2021, which was when he was hired by Atlanta. That means that he spent time with running backs Chris Johnson, Derrick Henry, obviously, and then DeMarco Murray.
All
So
guys who led the league in rushing at one point or another.
But I mean, he's something's there, and Derrick Henry.
He's way smarter than Canada.
We've
Canada doesn't know he's-
we've talked about this before. Derrick Henry, as great as he is, he's also very hot and cold. He'll have a 12 rushes for 36-yard game, and then he'll have a 230-yard 3-touchdown game. Like
On how many
Yeah.
touches?
a lot.
12 touches a
yeah,
game?
but like it's very
yeah.
hot and cold. And that's what it took him a while to get going. DeMarco Murray was the better back the first 2 years in Tennessee. He didn't break out, I think, until the third year.
His third year.
which is I
He didn't
think,
get
yeah.
1,000 yards.
wasn't that
until
when
his
they went to the
third
AFC
year.
Championship?
And all of that was proven the point further. That all of that was a latter part of the year because that was the year I think that they went into Kansas City and upset them. I think with Marcus Mariota as the quarterback.
came
Mike
back
Mularkey was
When he
still there.
passed to himself.
So-
Possession pass to himself.
Yeah, I'm not.
It was this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say Arthur Smith is a godsend, but I don't think that there are a lot of similarities between him and Matt Canada. I think Arthur Smith wants to be a head coach again. Matt Canada was never going to be an NFL head coach again. He got an interim role in college one time. He was never going to be an NFL head coach. Arthur Smith, there's a good chance he becomes an NFL head coach again. Arthur Smith has way more NFL experience than Matt Canada does. Arthur Smith is only 41. Matt Canada is over a decade older than him with way less NFL experience. Their schematics are different. Matt Canada really likes a run vertical zone kind of scheme. He did this a lot with James Conner, Anthony McFarland, one of his Maryland projects. That's not really the way Arthur Smith's going to do it. Arthur Smith has shown an ability to do it with multiple backs. Tyler Algier had 1,000 yards. If Tyler Algier can thrive in an Arthur Smith offense, Jalen Warren and Najee Harris can. I'm not necessarily as high on him as you, but also I'm not necessarily as low on him as, and you're not alone. A lot of Steeler fans have reacted this way. I've seen Tone Diggs, shout out to the Pat McAfee show, kind of share similar sentiments, but it is what it is. And this is a good hire as far as Steelers coaches go. The last two
we had a big name guy like I consider Smith a big name guy. I don't remember us ever having a big name guy.
we never do. It's always
Like I was
hires within.
shocked. Like I was,
Definitely not like Randy Fichtner or somebody like
I
that.
was
Yeah,
really
Ben's
ready- I
QB
was really
coach and
ready
best
for, like,
friend,
the
yeah.
Rams guy to come because he wasn't a big
Zach
name guy to
Robinson.
me. But yeah,
And I look at the last three former head coaches that the Steelers have hired as assistants. Dick LeBeau. We want to talk about good coordinators being good coordinators. Best defensive coordinator of all time, arguably. Todd Haley, who you can, but you make that face. But
Players
you
hated
can-
him. That's my point. The players hated
Guess
Todd
what?
Haley.
He's your coach.
I get it.
Look at
I
coaches.
understand.
Brian Johnson was Jalen Hurts' best friend. Where's he at right now? Unemployed. Like their job is to coach. Todd Haley certainly had some faults, especially in his personal life with doing stuff like that. But at the same time, he was the mastermind of that Killer Bee offense. And obviously, he was.
Do you think it was more him or Ben? Ben
Both
was
of them,
constantly
yes,
changing
I-
the
But
plays
guess
on the
what?
scrimmage.
He was the offensive coordinator. They couldn't do that with Bruce Arians. They couldn't do that with Ken
Where he's like, I
Whisenhunt.
had Big Ben as a freaking quarterback. I'm not going to argue with him changing a play if you see something I can't see.
Right, but then how can you
Guess
attribute
what?
that to
Great
Todd
coaches
Haley's
need
system
great
when he's
players,
changing
and great players need great coaches.
I agree.
And
Brady
also
and Belichick.
half the offense too. You could say both him and Ben were just arguing. Just throw it up to AB.
Oh, and then the third former head coach, Brian Flores, obviously only spent 1 year. The other two were very
should be
long
Defensive
on
tenure.
assistant,
right now,
right?
but-
Defensive assistant, something
Yeah,
like that.
off-ball linebacker and assistant head coach or something, I think. But
Yeah, I think of so earlier this week, I can probably find the date that it was. So January 29th, so it was actually yesterday, right before the hire happened today. The quote from Art Rooney was, "We've had enough of this. It's time to get some wins. It's time to take these next steps." So when I read that, and then see the Arthur Smith hire, it's like, how is this the next steps? It's like, listen,
Who did you
I'll
want?
trust the process.
Who did you want?
I wanted something different.
I wanted Kingsbury, but also
Arthur Smith is different. Just because he likes running the ball doesn't mean he's Matt Canada. I just listed a ton of ways that they're different, and that's from just a random 20-year-old kid in PA.
Sure, but some of that is subjective. It's your opinion.
Yeah, I wanted
What
Kingsbury,
was
but you could
subjective?
argue
What was
The
Kingsbury-
subjective?
ceiling
about
he
it.
has is crazy.
What was subjective about what I said?
The fact that you attributed like the Tennessee Titans' success to him as opposed to Derrick Henry.
He was successful with 4 different head coaches and 3 different running backs. He has some role in that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's not
fair.
subjective.
That's a fair point.
He is a decade younger than Matt Canada. That is
So
not
age
subjective.
is
But
bad
he has probably double.
Dick LeBeau was 87 years old.
He's
coaching
10
for the
years.
Steelers.
He's 10
But you
years
also
younger,
know
but
what he
has
could've
double the
done?
experience.
He could have gone into that interview. He could have had a whole game plan already set up that wowed Art Rooney with what he wanted to do with all that star talent he has.
I don't think it was Art Rooney's hire though.
Yeah,
But having a plan is different
It was
than
both.
execution. Listen.
Rooney has his hand
If
in
it
the
works
pot.
out, that's great. I would love to be wrong in this situation because that's a win-win for me.
you know what
Because if I'm right, then that's a win. And if the Steelers see success with him, that's a win too. So that's a win-win.
And also
for me.
one thing
Like,
that I think he wowed them too because he just got interviewed on Sunday. It's only been 2 days later.
I mean, yeah,
we
it's
haven't really
quick.
been doing interviews. That was only our second interview.
They said they wanted to get a hire out really quickly.
And I wanted-
And is that
Yeah.
a good thing?
I
to
wanted
hire quickly?
Kingsbury. Yes,
You're
want them
if you
before
want to
they
get your
leave.
guy, yeah.
I wanted Kingsbury, but you could argue Kingsbury didn't do crap in the NFL.
Steelers never even
They had
officially
one good year
interviewed
with
him.
the Cardinals. Yeah, and he only had one good year with the Cardinals, and Kyler didn't really take that much of a big step in that year they made to the playoffs.
You ready for the
Before-
3
before-
guys we interviewed?
He didn't
Yeah,
have the
go ahead.
greatest stats.
Yeah, but before Call of Duty came out, Kyler Murray was on trajectory to be an MVP candidate.
I don't
that
want
year.
no because his
Oh,
stats
brother.
weren't that good that year.
They were.
no,
up
they
until
weren't.
Call of Duty
no,
came
they
out.
weren't. No, they were not.
What was it? What are your? What was
You sound like Gary Ford right now.
Listen,
Shout
it's a
out.
fact. Gary Ford.
Yeah,
were you
shout out
saying?
Eli.
Hayden?
So the 3 guys that they interviewed. So these were the 3 guys who were it. Like we can talk about fan fiction and what our dream scenario. Like we were gonna get Mike Shanahan to come be the offensive coordinator.
Quarterbacks coach from the Rams, right?
Zach Robinson,
Yep.
who would have been a cool hire. He has that McVay, Shanahan background. But guess what? He wanted to go to Atlanta. He's worked with Raheem Morris for years now. That's where he was going to go. So even if I'm not sure if the Steelers preferred him or Artie Smith, but either way, he wasn't really an option. He preferred them over us. And then Jared Johnson, the QB coach for the Texans.
I didn't even hear that.
Those were the 3 guys. Johnson spent a training camp with Pittsburgh. He was cut in the preseason. He was never actually on an active roster, but he had experience in the building. So
I wouldn't mind him.
it becomes between him and Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith has offensive coordinator experience and head coach experience, which is what I want. I want a guy to be in Tomlin's ear that has been there before because we all have leadership experience. We want to surround ourselves with the best talent possible. Arthur Smith's been a top 32 coach in the league. He has that.
So if you're a head coach at some point, you've
Dude,
been
he
a
had
top 32 coach
he
in
had
the league.
3 7-win seasons.
Coach
He's not
Kingsbury's
awful.
been a top 32
He's not
coach in the
awful.
league.
He had one successful
If he was a
season.
head coach in the league, he was a top 32 coach in the league at one point.
He
That's
went
the-
7.
that's-
He went 7 and 10 every year. I'm not, and I hate that I'm coming out as some like huge Arthur Smith defender. But to say he's god awful, it just makes no sense.
But to
he
your
went
point,
7 and 10 in the NFL.
You said a top 32 team. If you are a head coach in the NFL
you
at
have an
any point,
audible, right?
Chip Kelly was a
might be the
top
time to
32
do it.
NFL coach at one point. If you are a head coach in the NFL, you are a top 32 head coach. What's the point?
All
of
right, top
saying-
20, top
Okay,
25. If you really, bottom line is he's not a bum, and like he has experience as being an offensive coordinator. The other guy didn't. Arthur Smith has been the offensive guy. You said it yourself. He's been the top offensive guy on the staff for really the last better part of a decade. Mike Mularkey,
They just argue.
defensive coach. Mike Vrabel, defensive coach. When he was the head coach, he was also the offensive coordinator. He knows how to lead an offense. Gerard Johnson's always been like the 3rd or the 4th guy in charge. And he has 1 year experience being in a really solid role. I think he has 1 year as a quarterback's coach. So you have a guy with head coaching experience, offensive coordinator experience throughout multiple staffs, or you have one guy who's been babysat by Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, and he's been a QB coach for 1 year.
when I look
Like,
at
why
the
is there a
QB coach-
debate here? Why is there a debate here?
When I look at a QB coach and one who wants to be an OC, I look at the development of the QB, not just like, hey, this guy was good for 1 year. I mean, yeah, Stroud is going to hopefully be good. I'd love to see him be good or whatever. But there wasn't growth with him. He was in the league and he was good.
Which is credit
week
to the
one.
QB coach and Bobby
A
Slowick.
little bit, but I feel
Well, we
like-
don't know. If he was in
Yeah.
Carolina, I bet he wouldn't have looked like that.
No, I bet he wouldn't even be up for debate of an OC if he was coaching Bryce Young.
I guess the question then becomes, and this is a question that I mean only the person who hired him could really answer, is like, do you want a guy who you haven't seen do it, or a guy who's been at a peak and a guy who's been at an extreme low? Because like
Extreme low? Are you serious?
What was the
He
Falcons'
just
record
convinced
this
me that
year?
this is a good hire. You know what I'm going to say? I think he wowed Rooney in the interview.
probably
He
yeah.
An
definitely has
extreme
to-
low for you
that.
is being like top 5 in rushing and being 7-10. That's an extreme low
Would
for
you
you.
say that the Falcons were mediocre this year?
yes.
Okay, middle of the line.
So is that extreme low? Mediocre's in the middle.
Matt Canada is an extreme.
Yeah, Matt Canada,
Matt Canada
is an example of an
extreme low.
extreme
You can
low.
argue that. Oh my god,
listening.
Eli might be right. Good corners are good coordinators. He could have been an excellent coordinator, so he could be
Maybe.
a nuts OC for us.
He wasn't a good head coach, but he wasn't even an awful head
That's
coach.
subjective. That's my point, and that's your opinion. He could be a good offensive coordinator. I'm taking the opposite side of that and thinking that he could not be a good coordinator. They're both subjective. They're both opinion based.
You say you want to be different just to be different, though. That's what you just. You said I just wanted something different.
I am offering an alternative to a milk toast conversation.
A milk toast.
Yes.
Milk toast. Can
What
you
the hell
elaborate
is
on
that?
that?
Eli here giving us random-
Please elaborate on what a milk toast conversation is.
Let me expand your guys' vocabulary for a minute.
Definitely
And tell
made this
you
up.
what-
It definitely can't be real.
30
on.
years of age is shown.
Listen,
What the heck is this?
The old man of the group over here.
You don't eat milk and toast together. What would you do with milk and toast?
it's a word.
It's like, do you mean lactose?
No, it's by definition.
Well, it's a British
Here
freaking
we go.
saying.
Milk toast. All right, here we go. I
Milk
spelled it wrong.
toast.
A timid, shrinking, or apologetic. Timid, shrinking, or apologetic.
That sounds like a British thing right there.
Yeah. Well, at least
British are notoriously tiny, though.
that's right.
See,
I mean, we'll see. We'll have to wait
no,
and
we'll see. And I want to make it. I'm not.
Want to gamble?
I wasn't a huge fan of this hire or anything, but just
can't
hearing
force
you
that,
talk
you know.
makes me feel like I am a huge advocate for
I think I was right.
Arthur
Dude,
Smith.
hey,
Me going to a service, I think
Place
that
a
means
bet
I'm
on
old
what
enough to
the
gamble.
Steelers' record is next
Listen,
year or something.
You guys take that
12 and
view
5.
and run with it. Like, great. I'm
One
not, I'm
final-
not telling you not to run with it. You're telling me not to
and
run.
5.
All right, we'll move on from this
next
after
year.
one final point. I view Ryan Tannehill and Kenny Pickett as very comparable. Due to my own personal bias, I would like Kenny Pickett's ceiling to be a little bit higher, but Ryan Tannehill's been a successful NFL quarterback. So even if that is his ceiling, that's not the end of the world. Ryan Tannehill went from a bust with Adam Gase and Joe Philbin to a franchise quarterback with Arthur Smith and Mike Vrabel. No, that's what
He was their franchise.
he was the franchise quarterback.
And you could argue that they didn't want to move on from him. It was the GM who wanted.
He has
to move
been the
on from him.
Titans'
They-
best
that's what they
quarterback
drafted.
since Steve McNair.
That's a valid point. That
He's
is
the
true.
franchise
That is
quarterback.
true.
He was the franchise. He was this era of Tennessee Titans. Him, AJ Brown, and Derrick Henry were triplets. So just for that reason alone, as I said, really hope to God, because I love Kenny, I love Pitt, I love the Steelers, that he has a higher outlook than this. But even if his ceiling is Ryan Tannehill base, that's not that bad. And Arthur Smith did wonders with Ryan Tannehill in that offense.
If we can get Kenny Pickett to the same level Ryan Tannehill was when they made it to the AFC Championship, I'm not going to make a crazy prediction.
Well, we got a
but-
TJ Watt too. Titans didn't have a
I would
TJ
argue
Watt.
What did, who did they
Yeah.
have?
We
Did
had
they
a
have
better
Bud Dupree yet
defense.
or no?
No, they had Harold Landry. They had was Simmons even?
Yeah,
good
they
there?
did.
Was he hurt that
No,
year?
they did have Simmons.
They had a decent defense, but I'd argue we have a better defense than them too. Though.
no.
I agree, yeah.
All right, what's next on the discussion board? That was a good. I know Christian makes fun of us whenever things get remotely heated, but I mean,
No, I
think-
started siding with you. I was. Oh, I mean,
Yeah, but
yeah,
you
I was
always like
over it.
lay down.
Yeah, but that's
It's
just joking. That's when you and Neil are just arguing about like stupid stuff that makes.
It was a milk and toast type of argument.
Milk toast.
Milk toast.
It's one word.
See the
It's
way
one
they
word.
spell it.
Are we
It's
just
one
gonna,
word. Look it up.
are we just
Milk
gonna bring
toast.
that into work now? We just have to incorporate that into every conversation.
Expand your vocabulary, guys.
Hey Luke, can I have a time on the milk toast?
You're calling Luke timid?
All right, Josie, just go to the next conversation.
Yeah, this is trivia time.
Do you-
I had an audible, but it was stolen. So
What was it?
Oh, what was it?
about the Super Bowl predictions of MVP and team.
Oh. How am I supposed to know? That's the only thing you can come up with?
Hey, it's harder than
Yeah, you were like, I have a few audibles.
and I was like, yeah.
I have a couple trivia questions then. So let's go into a couple trivia questions.
Do we want to go
So-
over awards today or no? Do we want to wait on
No,
that?
that argument took like 20
Yeah,
minutes.
we went a
That
little
argument-
longer, so
Go
we'll push
award-
that off to a future
Awards
podcast.
next week?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the Pro Bowl next week. So.
Yeah. So, first one. So, I'm going to ask one question because I think it's an interesting question, and then I'm going to ask some Super Bowl based questions because we have Super Bowl coming up. So, the first question is: how many states do not have an NFL team?
Alaska.
Oklahoma.
Dakotas, Vermont, Oklahoma. I'm going to go
Alaska.
9.
15. It's higher than 9. I gotta be.
What's your guess, Christian?
I'm going to go 16. I changed my.
Oh yeah, it's way higher than 9.
Yeah, 9.
Yeah,
is
no,
low.
I was
9 out of 50.
give me 15.
I'm trying to
give me
think. I
19.
think it would be higher than 15 or not.
23. 23 final answer.
No, I'll go
No,
17.
hang on.
I'll go 17.
Well, Luke, if you're counting them, then that kind of.
Oh, what?
We all can count the
It's
states.
really a
Either of them are in
geography
LA.
question.
None of you have been high enough.
29.
Really?
Now you're too high.
25.
27.
Dang.
27.
Got it on the 5th try. Let's go.
27 states do not have an NFL team. I thought that was pretty interesting.
So
What do you guys think the next most likely state to get one would be?
I would still think, I don't know. The last
Utah or
one
Oklahoma, I would say.
When will they do
Really?
another expansion
Alabama.
team, though? That's the question. When?
15 years.
And they'd have to do at least 2, right? You can't have
Bama has a professional team. It's Alabama.
don't know.
That's my only argument against
I haven't
that.
heard much talk about
You'd
it.
have to add 2, right? You can't have an odd number of teams.
Well, they did have an
I
odd
think they're
number
gonna
of teams
they're gonna
before
go
the
straight to
Texans.
4. I think there's gonna be
4 more.
I think there's gonna be a European division. I think that's the
I
end
really
goal.
hope not.
I think there's gonna be 2 Britain, 1 Germany, and then 1 Ireland.
Do you know if that counts
That would suck
New
for
York
that
Jets
team
and
going to
Giants
the
in
Super Bowl.
New Jersey? Or do they count them in New York because they're technically in New Jersey?
They're
I would
both,
assume
they're,
New
they're
Jersey.
stadiums in New Jersey. That doesn't mean they're practice facilities in. I don't know how they would base it. I'm guessing since they're New York, they consider them New York.
East Rutherford is where the
is where the stadium
I kind of
is.
want to say Toronto.
Oh, I
don't
thought
know where
that's
their
where I thought that's
practice
where the
Because I
facilities
keep
were
hearing
too.
Toronto
They
when
might be.
the Bills
I
are
don't
thinking
actually
of going
know.
there.
I don't know. Both of those teams suck.
I think a Hawaii team would be super cool, but there's just no way. There's no way.
It's. I mean,
It would be
obviously
it would be
Wild
super
Water
cool,
like
though.
that
There could be
seems
so
like
many
a
cool
lot
teams,
of
and it's just
effort.
not. They're just all gonna go to LA
I
or
think maybe
something.
one of
like
those
that.
southern states like Alabama or
Look, Anchorage, Alaska, baby.
the Hawaiian.
Do you think there's enough money there?
Probably not.
That would be my thing. Those states are so poor. Where
Maybe
like
a Virginia.
Virginia
They could bring revenue in,
West
right?
Virginia.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, by
I
also
could-
raising taxpayer dollars.
I could
so
see
don't know how that
Kansas
would work.
because Kansas doesn't have one yet because Kansas City's in Missouri.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
a lot
And
of
so
people don't know
and so like I
Yeah.
could see Kansas maybe. I mean it's a Midwestern
What about
type,
Arkansas?
flat. Not a lot going on there. So
What about Arkansas?
what are they gonna be? The armadillos? Like it's just
That was
I
a
don't know.
joke because
My
Arkansas-
Kansas is better.
All right, so a couple Super Bowl based questions. So first one is there's 2 players on this list. Who has the most points scored in a single game? Like the individual, no, the player who has scored the most points in Super Bowl
player.
history. There's 2
Jerry
of them
Rice,
that are tied. No,
Brady,
no,
Edelman.
no. One's a quarterback, one's a running back.
John Riggins.
Newer or older?
Emmitt Smith.
The running
Newer,
backs got to be.
newer for both.
Newer.
Newer for
Are they both MVPs?
no, neither one of them.
Are any of them past the 2000s?
Both of them.
Okay.
Both of them are within the last, let's say, 7 years.
Who's the Packers running back when they beat
Is
Steelers?
it Goff?
It is not Goff.
It was
They only scored 3 points in that whole game. It was when Goff played in that
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Eli
It was
Manning?
13-3.
Okay.
This is
single game, right?
This is single game, but they also scored the points themselves. So this
It's a
quarterback
rushing.
rushed or received for these touchdowns.
Probably-
Nick Foles.
No, That's an interesting guess, though.
I heard
got-
received.
That's where I was
I
kind
He
heard
got a
received.
touchdown pass. That
He got a
Well,
touchdown
You said
catch.
one was a running back,
was a
right?
touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
One's a running back, one's a quarterback.
It's not beast mode, is it?
It is not. That's a good guess,
That
though.
is-
But no,
that
it
is
is
Is it
not.
Blunt with Garrett Blunt?
It is not, but that's another.
That's
good
a
guess.
good
That's
one.
That's
That's a
a
good one.
pull. That is a pull. He scored. I think it was the.
to Blunt.
I think it was the AFC Championship game. He scored like 4 rushing
I knew
touchdowns
he
or
scored
something
a
like
lot.
that.
They
Something
just,
ridiculous.
every
Against
time it
Denver,
was
I
goal
think.
line, they just threw him in. No matter what.
He was just going off.
Can you give us a division?
Yeah,
See,
that's
the
a
quarterback one really
This is kinda
throws me
hard.
off.
we're struggling.
You want a division for which player?
Jalen Hurts.
QB
Let's go
first.
with Jalen Hurts. Good
just-
guess.
I was gonna
He
say,
rushed
he
for
just
3
ran, yeah.
touchdowns and a 2-point conversion.
yeah.
He
He
scored 20
he got like
points.
all their points. 'Cause it was
Wow.
He
weird.
scored
Yeah.
20 because
It was
3
weird
sixes
stats
is
for him.
18 and
Yeah.
then 2-point.
Like the Eagles
Wow.
had so many points, but
Yeah.
it was weird stats. I remember that.
And then this is probably going to give it away. The running back is AFC East.
So it's got to be
Is it
Patriots.
Mostert?
James White.
James White.
The Atlanta one? The Atlanta
James
one?
White had 2 rushing and a receiving touchdown and a 2-point conversion in the comeback against Atlanta. So,
Interesting.
yeah, isn't that pretty wild?
James White was a good player.
He was. He really
scored
was.
the game winner in OT.
He was maybe one of the better
He
like
retired New England, right? He
receiving.
didn't leave at all, right?
Yeah.
He retired.
The one that set
yeah.
overtime.
I don't,
He's
he never.
probably-
He got hurt. And
Didn't he
never-
retire the year Tom Brady left? That was like that.
I think it was. I think his last year was the year. It was Brady's first year in Tampa, because then there were rumors, kind of like the same thing with Edelman. Like, ooh, is he just gonna get cut and join Brady in Tampa? But then, health wise, it just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah. James White might have been one of the better, like purely receiving backs that we've seen in our lifetime. To be honest with you, like
There's just been so many, especially just
yeah,
from that.
but
New
just like
England offense
purely
line.
receiving. Like he didn't run
Danny
the ball a
Woodhead?
whole lot.
Danny Woodhead, Shane
he was
Vereen.
great. They were great. Who was the other? Maybe I'm thinking of Shane Vereen.
Kevin
was
Falk.
Kevin Falk. Yeah, I mean,
Like the
there
New
were
England guys alone are just ridiculous.
Was Shane
Deion
Vereen like
Lewis.
the only running back that came out of New England that was pretty decent?
Who?
Shane Vereen. Because he went to the Giants, he was there for like a while. But like, was he the only running back?
He
that was
wasn't even that
actually
good
decent?
with the Giants.
Because
Corey Dillon.
I don't count Danny that much because
Corey
he
Dillon
went
was
to New
good
England after
before.
the Chargers.
Who was the Dion?
Deion Lewis.
He had one good season. He had one good season
Because then he
outside
got
the
paid by
Browns.
Tennessee, and then he was bad.
Tennessee.
He
He started
went to
off in
Tennessee.
Cleveland though.
Yeah.
He went to Tennessee, and I was like, oh, that's so good. And
Yeah.
because I liked him a lot, and then he was.
You ready for a name? Jonas Gray. He had 4 rushing touchdowns in a game for the Patriots.
Against the Colts, right?
I think that sounds right.
Was that the McAfee fake punt?
Dude, it might have been. It might have
Griff
been that
Whalen,
game.
Pat
Yeah,
McAfee.
yeah. Youngest player to ever start a Super Bowl, not quarterback,
Oh.
because that we all know that one obviously. Youngest player to ever start a Super Bowl,
Offense or defense?
offense.
No.
Like, is it a
Not
name
like
you
a
know,
kicker
or
or
is it like
something.
actually?
It's a name you'll know. I mean, I think you guys will know this.
It's not Juju Smith-Schuster.
It is not Juju.
I was thinking.
I was
Juju's
saying, 'cause he
never-
came in
Juju
at like
never-
20, so I knew he was
never
young.
played in the
he
Super
did.
Bowl.
Yeah, he
With
did.
the
He
Patriots.
won
The
one.
Chiefs.
That's what I was thinking.
I was
That's the
thinking
Chiefs.
Steelers.
He was young
Yeah.
with the Chiefs.
Oh,
Yeah, he wasn't that young when he won it though.
This player was 21 in 322 days.
So they're. I'm assuming they're a rookie. Right?
Yeah.
Give me the year.
Ooh, 12.
Don't say it right away.
So it's Baltimore.
It was
No,
no,
it's
no,
Saints, right?
12, 13.
Oh,
So it's Seahawks Broncos.
I'm all thrown off. It's a Super Bowl 45.
so that's not Seahawks.
Wait, yeah, that is Seahawks Broncos.
No, that's. Is that?
Saints Colts were
was-
2009.
Steelers, Packers.
Oh,
that's
what's
2010.
2010 was
10, okay.
Was it AB?
So it's the 2010 season was Packers Steelers the 2010 year. So like we're in the season of 2023 right now. Like this is the
Right.
2023 NFL season,
I gotcha.
but the Super Bowl is going to be in
I
2020.
thought it was the
What,
2009
so
Super
what year
Bowl.
did he say it was?
Or
It's the
2009
Steelers Packers.
won,
So the
correct?
2010 season.
So this player is a Packers player. He's an offensive lineman, and he's no longer on the Packers.
Is it Corey
TJ
Linsley?
Lang.
He went to the Chargers.
It's not
Lindsey.
TJ
It
Lang.
is not. What's that?
So this is not Corey Linsley?
No. Oh,
No, Lindsey wasn't even there till 2013.
Lindsley. Yeah.
Josh said
Sitting. Frick you. Oh, Beloga.
Balaga. Brian Balaga. Brian Bulaga was 21 years
Good
old
pull.
when he
I'm really
started
surprised
that.
It was a lineman. I was not expecting.
Yeah,
I wasn't
was gonna
expecting
guess
one. I was thinking receiver. I was thinking
Yeah.
receiver.
You know who the other rookie lineman in that game was?
Bakhtiari?
Marquise
No.
Pouncey.
Oh,
Marquise Pouncey.
Oh, Marquise. Yeah, he was a rookie.
Was
that
he
year.
really?
Jeez.
Dang.
That's wild.
First team All Pro, I think,
Yeah.
too.
Who are the two starting quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl for two separate teams?
Tom Brady.
And then shoot, it's Jeff George. The guy.
Manning.
Manning, Peyton Manning.
Oh, I thought there was
yeah.
another guy.
This on Wikipedia only has those two guys listed.
Jim Plunkett. All right, Cole. If you have another one,
Yeah.
I
keep
keep
going.
forgetting the Colts won one against
I
the
know.
Bears.
Yeah, me too.
I always forget that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because that makes you kind of mad because I kind of wanted the Bears to win that because I like the Bears that year. Love their team. Devin Hester, what a beast.
That's too old for me.
Probably the last time the Bears were good.
I just forget about because every time it feels like a weird Super Bowl. Even watching the highlights from it every time, I'm just like, that's
That was
such a weird
2000,
Super
right?
Bowl. Yeah, it was such a because Devin Hester returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown.
All right, so if you guys get, I think you can get two of these. There's four of them. Touchdowns scored for two different teams
in the Super Bowl.
in the Super Bowl.
As in, like,
This is a difficult
played
one.
for two teams.
You played for two different teams and you
Scored
scored
a
a
touchdown.
touchdown, not a passing touchdown. You scored a touchdown.
Gronk.
So you saying
Gronk, good pull. Gronk scored for New England and in Tampa Bay.
there's
Sean
no
McCoy
other
was he
player
there when
that's
the
ever-
Eagles went?
Michelle McCoy. What?
No
Oh,
other
T.O.
player.
What's that?
No other players.
T.O.
ever.
No, there's four total.
Oh,
but I'm
yeah, I
saying
thought
there's
he
two
played
that I think you
49.
guys could
Okay.
get. What was your T.O. did not know?
I thought he played in the Niners with one.
It is a receiver though.
AB didn't have one against the Packers, right?
Old
he
old time
did have-
receiver?
Bolden.
Not the oldest. Not
Jerry
like
Rice?
yeah, good pull. Jerry Rice.
What's the second one with
I
the
thought
Raiders?
they were
Oakland.
one.
Oakland. Yep. He did San Francisco and Oakland. The other two, we have actually mentioned this guy in the podcast as part of a trivia question for the longest receiving touchdown. Do you remember who it is? The longest receiving touchdown in Super Bowl history. He played for the Panthers.
Frick.
Oh, Muhammad.
Yeah.
Mushin
Muhammad
Muhammad.
Sanu?
Muhsin Muhammad. Muhsin Muhammad scored for Carolina and Chicago, and then the other one was Ricky Prohl for
I
the
never knew
Rams.
he was
and
on
the Carolina.
Chicago.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Ricky
until now.
Prohl with Carolina and who else?
Rams, St. Louis Rams.
Oh yeah, he was the wide receiver 3 behind Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce.
Yeah. Boom. Lowest passer rating to win the Super Bowl.
Ben.
It's Ben
Yeah.
against Seattle. You want to guess what his passer rating was that game?
57.
I don't want to know.
It was pretty bad.
63.
Lower.
Really?
36.
Wow.
Lower.
42.
Low. He said 36.
27.
Oh, I
Lower.
didn't hear.
Lower.
15,
Higher.
20.
22.6.
How many times did he pass the ball?
I would have to look it up, to be honest with you. I have no idea.
I think he only had one pick in that game. I think it just
22.6, dude.
there was the
Why
long
was it-
pass
why was it
touchdown
so
was
low?
a trick play.
Oh, yeah, it was Randall L.
Yeah, Randall L threw the long pass to Ward, and then Willie Parker had the longest run, which was a 75-yarder, and the defense just dominated.
Is that
Hasselbeck.
when did he make that tackle? Ben.
That
That was that year.
Is that
That was
the
that.
same year?
That was the divisional round of that
Okay,
year.
with
Yeah.
when Bettis fumbled.
Yes.
I'll look up Ben's
I thought that was the
stat
go-to
line.
Super Bowl against the Colts.
No, they
I
played the
thought it was the
Broncos.
championship, but
It was
Oh,
Bronc. Did they play Broncos or
sure
the
it
Bengals
was.
in the
I think it was
championship?
a
I'm pretty sure.
All right,
it was
here you go.
too.
I got Ben's stat line. Oh my. All right, Ben went 9 for 21, 123, no touchdown, 2 picks, and 1 sack.
That's crazy. I think he only had 9 completions.
Meanwhile, Antoine Randall, shout out wide receivers coach for the Lions, went 1-1 for 43 and a touchdown. He had a perfect passer rating, 158.3. That's got. I mean, that's the highest.
That'd be a record. Yeah, the highest passer rating in
They do minimum 50 passes or something, like minimum whatever passes. Like the thing that I was looking
stuff
at.
like that,
Yeah.
All right, I have an update on their playoff schedule. So the wild card round was against Cincinnati. That's when Carson Palmer got hurt, like the first play of the game, and that was supposed to be like Cincy's year. The divisional round was the Colts with the tackle, and then they played Denver at Denver for the AFC Championship and beat probably Jake Plummer, and I think that was Jake Plummer's last career game before moving on to beat Seattle.
Wow, nice. All right, one more because I found this one interesting as well. Not Super Bowl related. Who is the NFL's greatest Ironman? So most consecutive starts.
Eli Manning. No, he missed it by 2 starts, right?
Consecutive.
Brett Favre.
Frick, it's a
Brett
line.
Favre. It is Brett Favre. How many do you think he started in a row to start his career?
266.
I was
Very
about to say
close, but higher.
278.
Higher.
286.
Higher.
You pat my head.
293. Because you're not as
Higher,
fast
but
as me.
very close.
295.
Higher, but close.
96.
97. 297 consecutive games to start.
What's
your career.
297
That's
divided by 16?
That's what.
Was
A
it?
lot, dude. I mean, it's got to be like
Manning missed it by like 1 game, right?
Especially during his
that's-
time.
And they benched him 1 game for Geno, and then he
297
started again the next week.
that sounds
That-
right. Divided by 16.
18.5?
It says 297. It could include some postseason too. You got to remember that. Preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preseason probably too. It probably counted preseason.
Not preseason. I bet it counted
Yeah, I don't-
postseason. Not preseason. No.
So
Because
But 297
didn't even play for 8. He didn't even
he didn't
play.
miss any games. I don't think he missed a start in his career. He didn't miss a single one.
I'm not
That's
sure.
just wild to think, especially in
Yeah.
his time where there weren't as many rules to protect the quarterback, and like they were just getting blown up. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
that's-
I mean, he took some hits.
Yeah.
I saw part of a documentary on him. I don't want to get too off topic because we got to wrap up, but like there was a documentary on Brett Favre where like they were talking, his coaches were talking about how like they just kind of had to let him go out and do his thing, but then they would ream him out on the sideline. But like you just had to let him go out and do his thing, like playing backyard football. Like Brett Favre was an interesting guy for sure.
Yeah.
So
I'm next
Still
to
is.
Brett Mason
Yeah.
Rudolph to be the next.
Brett Mason Rudolph, yeah.
That's it.
It is the second, the third.
Yeah, I think.
He was the third, I think. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so it was a good podcast, guys. Good conversation specifically around the Arthur Smith. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, this has been
Steeler fans, let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
what you
exactly.
think.
What you think about the Arthur Smith hire. So this has been the Second and Short podcast. We'll catch you guys later.